What if I told you that for one single night of work, just a few minutes inside a cage, rowdy Ronda Rousey pocketed a paycheck so massive it dwarfed even the biggest payday of the Beast incarnate, Brock Lesnar? It sounds impossible, right? Brock Lesnar is the benchmark. He is the ultimate prize fighter, the man who holds WWE hostage for millions with every appearance. He's the mayor of Suplex City, a place built on stacks of cash. We see him a few times a year. He destroys an opponent, collects an obscene amount of money, and vanishes back to his farm in Saskatchewan. For over a decade, the narrative has been clear. No one in professional wrestling, perhaps in all of combat sports, has a better deal than Brock Lesnar. His name alone is a special attraction. When Brock's music hits, you know you're about to see something real, something brutal, and something expensive. He is the final boss of sports entertainment, and his reward for that status is legendary. We've heard the figures, whispered in dirt sheets and speculated on by analysts. Millions per year for a handful of dates. A WrestleMania main event for Lesnar is considered the pinnacle of earning potential in the wrestling world. It's a figure that other full-time wrestlers who are on the road 300 days a year can only dream of. So the idea that anyone, let alone another WWE superstar, could out-earn him in a single night seems like pure fantasy. But the secret doesn't lie within the squared circle of a WWE ring. It lies in the octagon, in a world Ronda Rousey once ruled with an iron fist. Before she was a WWE superstar, she was the most dominant female athlete on the planet, a pioneer for women in the UFC, and a pay-per-view juggernaut. And it was on one specific, fateful night in that world where she unlocked a level of financial success that will forever change how you view the pay scale of combat sports titans. Prepare to have your perception of value, star power, and earning potential completely shattered. The story isn't just about two superstars. It's about two different business models and one incredible, mind-boggling paycheck. To truly grasp the magnitude of Ronda's single-night earning, you first have to understand the financial fortress that is Brock Lesnar. He isn't just a wrestler, he is a business entity. When Brock Lesnar returned to WWE in 2012, he didn't just come back for the love of the sport. He came back with leverage that no one had ever had before. He was a former NCAA Division I heavyweight champion, a former WWE champion, and, most importantly, a former UFC heavyweight champion. He had conquered the world of legitimate fighting. He was a proven, mainstream box office draw. Vince McMahon and the WWE knew this, and Brock Lesnar and his advocate, Paul Heyman, knew that they knew. This led to the creation of what is arguably the most lucrative contract in the history of professional wrestling. Standard WWE contracts for most talent involve a downside guarantee, with bonuses for merchandise and live events. The talent is expected to work a grueling schedule of TV tapings, house shows, and international tours. Brock Lesnar's deal threw that entire model out the window. He reportedly signed a flat-rate deal per appearance. Think about that. He doesn't get paid an annual salary in the traditional sense. He gets paid a colossal sum every single time he shows up. Reports have consistently placed this figure in the realm of $500,000 to $1 million per appearance. If he shows up on Raw to just stand in the ring while Paul Heyman talks, that's a check. If he wrestles a 5-minute match at a premium live event, that's a check. For a major event like WrestleMania or SummerSlam, that figure is believed to skyrocket, with some estimates putting his WrestleMania payday in the range of $3 million to $5 million for that one match. On top of this, he gets a significant cut of his merchandise sales, and the Suplex City shirts have been best sellers for years. He also gets first-class travel accommodations and every other perk imaginable. This structure makes him the highest-paid performer per appearance by an astronomical margin. He is the definition of a special attraction, used sparingly to maximize impact and justify the immense cost. He is the gold standard, the final boss of contract negotiations. So when we say someone out-earned him in a single night, we're not talking about beating a mid-carder's salary. We're talking about eclipsing the payday of a man who architected the most profitable part-time schedule in the history of entertainment. That's the mountain we're about to climb. Now, let's rewind the clock to a time before Ronda Rousey was pointing at the WrestleMania sign. Let's go back to when she was the baddest woman on the planet for real. In the Ultimate Fighting Championship, Ronda wasn't just a champion, she was the women's division. She built it from the ground up. A UFC president, Dana White, once famously said women would never fight in the UFC. Ronda Rousey made him not only eat his words but build an entire empire around female fighters. Her rise was meteoric and unprecedented. She wasn't just winning. She was annihilating her opponents in seconds with her signature armbar. Fights ending in 34 seconds, 16 seconds, even 14 seconds became her trademark. This wasn't just athletic dominance, it was a cultural phenomenon. She crossed over into the mainstream in a way no UFC fighter, not even Conor McGregor at that point, had managed to do. She was on talk shows like Ellen, she was starring in Hollywood movies like Furious 7 and Entourage, and she was on the cover of magazines. She became a household name. This mainstream appeal translated directly into dollar signs for the UFC through their primary revenue driver: pay-per-view. Ronda Rousey became a PPV selling machine. Her events consistently drew massive numbers. UFC 184, which she headlined, did a reported 600,000 buys. UFC 190 did 900,000 buys. And then came UFC 193, where she faced Holly Holm in Australia in front of over 56,000 fans. That event pulled in a staggering 1.1 million PPV buys. These numbers put her in the elite, rarefied air of fighters like Brock Lesnar during his UFC run and Georges St-Pierre. The UFC's pay structure for its biggest stars was fundamentally different from WWE's. While there was a base salary for the fight, the real money, the life-changing money, came from a share of the PPV revenue. For a star of Ronda's magnitude, her contract would stipulate that she would receive a certain dollar amount for every PPV buy over a specific threshold. The more buys she brought in, the more her final paycheck would balloon. She wasn't just an employee getting a salary, she was a business partner, directly profiting from her own drawing power. And it was this exact model that led to the single biggest payday of her career, a night that would financially eclipse even the Beast. So, what was the one night? The one event where the numbers became so astronomical they challenged the legend of Brock Lesnar's WWE deal? It was December 30th, 2016. The event was UFC 207. The main event was Amanda Nunes versus Ronda Rousey for the UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship. This was Ronda's big comeback fight after her shocking loss to Holly Holm over a year prior. The anticipation was off the charts. The entire marketing machine was built around her return. Now, let's break down the money. According to the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Ronda Rousey's disclosed show money, her guaranteed base pay just for stepping into the octagon, was a record-setting $3 million. Win or lose, that $3 million was hers. At the time, this was tied with Conor McGregor for the highest disclosed purse in UFC history. Just that base salary alone is comparable to what many believe Brock Lesnar makes for a WrestleMania main event. But that's where the comparison begins, not where it ends. The real financial knockout punch came from the pay-per-view points. UFC 207 was a massive commercial success, reportedly selling around 1.1 million PPV units. While the exact details of her contract are private, top-tier UFC stars like Rousey typically earned anywhere from $2 to $5 for every PPV buy over a certain baseline, e.g., over 200,000 or 300,000 buys. Let's be conservative and use a low-end estimate. If Ronda earned just $3 per buy for every unit sold over, say, 300,000, that's 800,000 units multiplied by $3. That's an additional $2.4 million. Add that to her $3 million show money, and you're already at $5.4 million. Many analysts believe her deal was even more favorable, potentially pushing her total earnings for that one night for a fight that lasted only 48 seconds, into the $8 million to $10 million range, or possibly even higher depending on other undisclosed bonuses and sponsorships. Now compare that to Brock Lesnar. His biggest reported WrestleMania paydays hover around the $5 million mark. It's an incredible amount of money, but it's a figure that was likely surpassed, perhaps even doubled, by Ronda Rousey for 48 seconds of work at UFC 207. She lost the fight, but financially she won in a way that no one in the WWE universe, not even the Beast himself, could match on a single night. How is this mathematically possible? How could a UFC fighter, even a massive star, eclipse the earning power of WWE's Ultimate Mercenary? The answer lies in the fundamental difference between the business models of the UFC at that time and the modern WWE. It's a tale of two philosophies, the individual-driven PPV model versus the corporate-owned network model. The UFC, for the majority of its history, was built on the pay-per-view mountain. The company's health and the fighters' wealth were directly tied to how many people were willing to pay $60 to watch a single event. This created a system where the UFC was incentivized to share a piece of that massive pie with the very few fighters who could convince millions of people to open their wallets. A fighter like Ronda Rousey or Conor McGregor wasn't just an athlete. They were a walking, talking marketing engine for a multi-million-dollar product. Their compensation reflected that. They had the leverage to demand a cut of the direct revenue they generated. It was a high-risk, high-reward system. If a fighter's event bombed, they'd only get their show money. But if it exploded, their earnings could be limitless. Now, let's look at WWE. WWE used to operate on a similar PPV model, and stars like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock earned fortunes from it. However, everything changed in 2014 with the launch of the WWE Network. Instead of asking fans to pay $60 for one event, they asked for $9.99 a month for everything. This was a brilliant move for the company, creating a stable, predictable, and massive revenue stream. But for the talent, it changed the game. It effectively put a cap on the earning potential from a single event. A wrestler's bonus from WrestleMania was no longer directly tied to how many individual PPVs were sold, because the vast majority of viewers were now watching on the network. The money was now pooled in a different way. This is why Brock Lesnar's deal is a flat, guaranteed rate. WWE knows roughly what their network revenue will be, so they can budget a massive, fixed cost for their top attraction. It's an incredibly safe and lucrative deal for Lesnar, but it doesn't have the same explosive, unlimited ceiling that Ronda Rousey had access to under the old UFC PPV model. Ronda hit the jackpot at the perfect time, leveraging her once-in-a-generation star power within a system designed to create millionaires overnight. So, what is the final legacy of this incredible financial showdown between two combat sports icons? It's a powerful lesson in timing, leverage, and the sheer force of individual star power. Ronda Rousey's monumental payday at UFC 207 wasn't just a big number, it was a testament to the empire she built. She proved that a female athlete could be the single biggest draw in a male-dominated sport, and she was compensated at a level that reflected that revolutionary status. Her ability to command that kind of money in the UFC is precisely what gave her such immense leverage when she eventually did make the jump to WWE. WWE didn't just sign a former UFC fighter, they signed a proven, mainstream PPV juggernaut who had already earned more in one night than their own top male star. This knowledge undoubtedly played a huge role in the landmark contract she received from WWE, making her one of the highest-paid women in the company's history from the moment she walked through the door. On the other side, this doesn't diminish the financial genius of Brock Lesnar. He has played the game of contract negotiation better than anyone in wrestling history. He has masterfully used the threat of returning to the UFC to consistently increase his value and secure his unprecedented deal with WWE. He understood his worth and built a career that maximizes his earnings while minimizing his physical toll. In a way, both Rousey and Lesnar are mirror images of each other. They are two athletes who transcended their respective sports, achieved mainstream fame, and then brilliantly converted that fame into financial fortunes. The fact that Ronda's peak single-night earning likely surpassed Brock's is not an indictment of Lesnar, but rather a stunning illustration of the unique financial bubble that existed at the height of the UFC's PPV era, a bubble that Ronda Rousey was at the very center of. It leaves us with a fascinating question for the ages. Who was truly the bigger box office attraction in their prime? The beast who built a city on guaranteed millions, or the rowdy one who, for one night, owned the entire world? The numbers tell a truly speechless story.